Hi everyone. I was getting ready to do a tutorial on a pair of earrings, and then I realized that for those specific pair of earrings there's an awful lot of head pins that I made. So I decided to go ahead and make a short video on head pins, eye pins, how you can make your own, and my personal favorite design. Alright, so these are the store-bought head pins right here. You can see at the very end, try to hold this as still as possible so my camera picks it up. At the very end there's just a flat piece. You can't really see it so well on this black one. There we go. So yeah, there's just a flat piece, and that's for, you slide your beads on and it holds the bead in place. Hopefully the hole's small enough. If the hole on your bead is not small enough to catch on this, you'll have to put probably a smaller bead, a spacer bead, some, anything really that you can to make that work. This is the same thing, it's just this is a nicer silver color. These are a bit cheaper. You can get them probably like $200 per pack, but they do have this kind of metallic, ugly metal color that just does not look great. Alright, and these are some store-bought eye pins. The difference between a head pin and an eye pin is, let me see if I can't focus that a little better. Oop. Forget it. The difference between head pins and eye pins obviously is the end. There's a loop on these, and the reason for that is so you can connect it to your next eye pin or head pin or component that you have. So you can make dangles, you can make, chains of different beads and whatnot by using these. So that's what they are. Again, there's a nice center, and then I have this kind of ugly middle cheap color that I really don't care for. I have a ton of all of these, the head pins and the eye pins that I bought from the store, and then when I found out I could make my own, I just have never touched these again, so they've been sitting there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you first my favorite design, which is the knotted head pin. And what I have here, I have three pieces. They're approximately 2 inches, about 2 inches long, of 24 gauge silver beading wire by Cousin. This is a pretty basic wire, especially for beginners. It's not a sterling silver, it's not a plated silver, it's just silver colored. It does tarnish very easily. It's just something that you can use for simple, easy projects and little things like this, so it doesn't cost you too much. So I'm going to take one of these, and I'm going to make sure my ends are flush. I have my flush cutters here. And that did not work. There we go, that's a bit better. I'm going to snip this end. There we go. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and at the very, very tip, I'm going to grip that. Just at the very tip of the wire and the very tip of the pliers. Oh, goodness. I just flung it somewhere. Too close to the tip there. Alright, so back at the very tip, I'm just going to turn the wire, wrap it around that top jaw, then I'm going to turn my pliers so it wraps again, and I'm going to make a second wrap right underneath that one. Okay? And keep turning so you go all the way around. Make sure your wire wraps are laying right next to each other. If they're not, you can of course let go and squeeze them together a little. Sorry. So here you have a very tiny little loop there. Now I am going to grip that again, bend it a little bit so that my loop is centered. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this stem, the tail, upwards. Alright. So we got our loop down here, and then we have our tail going straight up. Now either round nose pliers or chain nose, it really doesn't matter which one you use. I prefer to use the chain nose for this because it's less likely to mar your wire. I'm going to take the end, and I'm going to bend it over and put it through that loop. Okay, and grab it and pull it all the way through. Okay, so you kind of have this, move my hand out of the way, you kind of have that at the end there. Alright, you're going to pull it as tight as you can, and then use your pliers to snug that wire in there and get it into the position that you want it to be in. You could leave it, to the side like that, but I personally like to turn it so that it's more like a head pin. It has a flat bottom to it, and then it has a little knot at the very tip there. Okay, and it's a nice little decorative piece. It looks good on just about anything. At first glance, you're probably not going to notice these kinds of details in jewelry, but it is something that while you're making it, it's nice to think about and it's nice to notice. And I personally love that little design because it just looks pretty to me. Okay, so I'm going to take my next piece of wire. I'm going to show you the next thing you could do. It's kind of a variation of an eye pin that you can always use an eye pin as a head pin. It really does not matter. You don't have to put anything in that loop. So again, I'm going to grip right there at the end, turn it around. I'm going to make sure the tip is flush with the tail. Okay, and then turn it back so that, goodness, if I can get my pliers back in there, and then turn it back so that it's centered, your loop is centered, and there you have an eye pin. It's that easy. Ta-da! Squeeze that shut, and the loop is so small that you really don't notice it. So if you do want to use this as just like that instead of attaching anything else to the bottom, what I do like to do is make a second loop right underneath the one you already had, just like we did before, and keep turning till I get right to the point where I left off. Okay, so that's shut. I'm going to center it, and there you have it. That's just a looped end. With the second loop there, it makes it a little more sturdy, so that, say, I have this pair of earrings here that I use that design on. They've got the loops at the end. You can pull a little bit on the bead, and it doesn't budge. It doesn't change the loop's still there. It's very sturdy. Alright, with a single loop, it's less likely to stay in place that easily. Okay, and so now that that is done, in my next tutorial I am going to show you how to make these. These are my chain dangle earrings. They're very easy, very simple, and very cute. I love these. I love this design so much. So I will see you then.